Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Good stuff, everybody. Listen, this is Chris Allen. I'm one part of the brand, the Real Talk of Real Estate. I'm one of your hosts, along with my partner Maurice Murphy over there. I think he should be joining us very, very shortly. I think he might be on a call or something. But listen, another week, Real Talk, Real Estate. You there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
There we go.
There it is. There it is.
All
there
right.
it is. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk and Real Estate. Tonight's we got a banger tonight, Reese.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolute monster on the show, man.
A monster on the show tonight. He gonna drop some major jams. I know he is.
Oh, of course he is.
Yeah. You had a good week so far, brother?
Absolutely, man. Had a great week. Just got started, man. So yeah, we're definitely getting this thing rocking and rolling.
Rock and roll. We got some great stuff coming up. So I know we're gonna talk about that too. So I'm looking forward to everything that we got going on. You know, you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, we got Mr. and Mike Rolewicz. I think that's how you pronounce
That
it.
name sounds like a Rolex.
Rolewicz.
Yeah, that's that money. That's that money.
He correct me once we finish. But so he's been an accomplished entrepreneur and business leader. He started his first company back when he was at the tender age of 24 years old in Jacksonville. So he grew that into a successful enterprise, landing 4 times as top 50 fastest growing company in Jacksonville. So after 23 years, he sold Agility Staffing to pursue a career in real estate. So man, that's crazy. After 23 years, he decided, hey, I'm done with this. I'm going to start something brand new. So in late 2018, Mike started his real estate practice with Berkshire Hathaway. And within 2 years, he rose to the top 2% of that company nationwide. So based on his production, over 12 million in 2019 and 2020, he decided to go back into business building roots, launching his 904 guide home team. And he did that with our company, man, eXp Realty. So he wanted to guide more clients in the real estate journey in the past 4 years. And Mike and his team has helped over 250 families sell and buy real estate, equating over $150 million in real estate, man. He's one of the most recent notable sales was the oceanfront property in Ponte Vedra Beach, highest sale in history in our MLS. Price that, drum roll, please. $12.2 million.
$12.2 million.
Absolutely, man. Wow. So year to date, man, and this year so far, they're still out here crushing it, man. They've got over 55 transactions, over $25 million, and with another 23 deals pending. Hey, man, he enjoys spending time with his wife. 25 years, man. She's been rocking and rolling with him the whole entire time throughout this entire journey. And he has 2 beautiful kids, Lindsay and Hayden, where they love catching a good sunrise and fishing when time permits. And with his nest almost empty, Mike and his wife also recently started a journey in foster care, man. Oh, man, that's a beautiful thing, man.
It's a whole nother arena.
Absolutely. A good friend of ours did this as well. And in the short term, Respite Care, which has rewarded him with exhaustion, and at the same time, it reminded us why we have kids when we are young. So he's kind of going through it right now with the kids being a little younger, and he's a little bit older now. So we'll get a chance to ask him about how that's going for him. So without further ado, man, let's get Mr. Mike.
You gonna bring him on?
There we go.
There it is.
I'm here. What's up, gang?
There it is.
So, Mike, first off, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You're close enough. It's like a Rolex, but it's Rolewicz.
That's what I said, right?
Chris knew I got myself a present when I sold my company. 25 years you get the gold watch. I had to buy my own instead.
Hey, listen, you can do it. You can do it. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great. I appreciate the all the kind words. I will try my best to live up to about a third of that intro.
Hey, you made the intro very, very easy. Let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. I know we spoke. I think we spoke at an event before. We had an opportunity to chop it up for a second, and I know you and Maurice talked. But for those of us, those who don't really know who you are, I know Maurice went through and kind of did a brief overview. And give us who is Mike? Who is Mike? Give us that aerial view.
Okay, so I am somebody that does not do well working for someone else. And I was fortunate enough to learn that at a very early age. So like Maurice mentioned, I opened my first company here in Jacksonville in 1995 with one of the original 10 Jacksonville Jaguars, Greg Huntington, who still lives in town. So he was signed by the Jags. I was sick of corporate America. We'd always talked in college. I went to Penn State, played lacrosse. He was obviously a football player there. Hey, we should start a company someday. And the journey just brought us down to Jacksonville in 95. I came down for a weekend and just saw the way the town embraced the team. The red carpet rolled out everywhere we went. And when you got a guy, it's about 6'6", 310, easy to spot in a crowd. So, I figured, okay, if we're going to do this, there's no better time than now. Had a mentor, friend of mine, good friend of my brother's that had started a staffing agency a couple years before. And I'm like, okay, Yoda, teach me. Like, what do I need to do? And I was fortunate that he poured into me and really helped me become successful in that business, because just like I do with EXP now, is I don't try to invent wheels that have already been invented. So leaned on him a lot. We reinvented that company probably 3 or 4 times over the course of the 23 years in terms of the markets we served, clients that we worked with, industries that we worked with. And then what made me get out of that is I had I call it a gift. At the time, it didn't feel that way, but I had a cancer diagnosis in March of 2016. Went through pretty brutal course of radiation and chemo for a base of tongue tumor. So basically imagine just getting your face fried for about 6 weeks, twice a day. Great way to lose weight though. So if anybody tells you it's diet and exercise, they're lying to you. It is only what you put in that will put weight on you. Because I was not going to the gym and the weight fell off. So during the course of that journey is where I realized when I got back to my staffing company, 2 things. I had read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, which if you're an entrepreneur and you don't read that and or put it into practice, I think it's to your peril, because that book talks about building a business that you can one day sell, where systems and processes run your business. And I had deliberately in the years, so I read that on a spring break in 2015. So that was just, again, God's sovereign hand saying, hey, Mike, I'm about to just pull you through something. You don't know it yet, but go ahead and implement this. So implemented that, realized when I came back, A, I had lost the passion for staffing, and B, the company ran just fine without me. So then, turned over to my wife one night and said, Natalie, do you trust me to provide? And she's like, of course, like you've never not, what's up? And I just told her, I said, I can't do this anymore. So lived a double life for 6 or 8 months during the due diligence process. Didn't even tell our kids. Obviously, none of the staff knew. Really, the only person that knew outside of my wife was my brother and my buddy that helped me in the staffing. So had to keep that quiet. It was weird. I was studying for my real estate exams. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And then took about 3 or 6 months off, dove back deep into the family, because the time I was going through the treatments, I was a shell of myself. So wanted to give back to them, get healthy. So, and then started the real estate, but I've just droned on way too long. So that's that's how I got here.
Got you. So Mike, let's go back to the beginning, man. Let's talk about, so at a young age, you said at 24 you started your first business. So what was your aha moment after you graduated college, got into corporate America for a short period of time? What was that moment you said, hey, this just ain't for me? Like, I need to be my own boss for I don't know if I have a loan, but this ain't working for me. What was that?
Where'd that
How
come
did it go?
from?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it's twofold. So one is even through high school, college, I always worked 2 or 3 jobs. I always was trying to figure out what's a side hustle, what's something else I can be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I worked in the corporate role, I would on the weekends for the executives wash their cars, power wash, and stain their decks. Like I was always looking for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And also I realized I worked for a big insurance company. When I started, I equate it to looking across a creek and the rocks you're going to step on to get across the creek.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, 2 reorganizations in less than 18 months, I'm like, oh crap, they keep taking the rocks away. And I don't know what that career path looks like. And the real aha moment is when I moved in with that mentor. He was building a house, about to get married, moved in, was living in Baltimore at the time. And he's 3 years older than me. So he's 27. Dude drove a nice Lexus, was asleep when I would go to my corporate job, on the couch in the afternoon when I'd come home in shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm like, tell me about this staffing thing. Like, what is this? Because whatever you have, I want.
Right.
And that was really the crux of it. But even back, when you look back at your high school yearbook, right? What did you say? I said, I'll start a company or I'll be an entrepreneur. That was always in my mind. And my grandfather owned a hardware store growing up, so I saw that. And then real estate, I told my wife when I sold a company, no employees, 5 years. Don't want employees, don't want the headaches. And then quickly realized, as most top producers do, you will just burn yourself out unless you start to leverage yourself, scale yourself, multiply yourself. So that's when 2019, 28 transactions, like I was just running ragged. So that's when I said, oh, guess I got to start hiring again.
Mhm.
Got you. So my next question, why real estate?
God, I'm going to sound like those people that are like, oh, I watched Selling Sunset. But honestly, I spent a lot of time on the couch watching $1 Million Listing, HGTV, you name it. And, we had lived in, by this time, me and my wife had bought 3 or 4 different homes.
Okay.
I owned the office space that I was in. I've always enjoyed real estate. It's always been a passion. I've loved learning the market. So when I thought, what's that next thing that I can do? And when I told her my plan, I said, Nat, I don't know that I ever see myself back on the Fast 50 for staffing. I said, but I damn well know if I go into real estate within 3 years, I'll be in that top 100 real estate agents. Like there's no way that I'll let myself not, and exceeded that. So that was it. And what I missed about, as my staffing company grew and you pick up bigger clients, you get away from 3-foot conversations. It becomes, oh, it's an RFP and we use this vendor management system, and you just shove resumes into a portal. And this is even before AI read your resumes. We were getting pushed too far away from the deal. And I liked the deal too much. So that's why real estate just was a natural thing that, again, I thought I had this delusion, I'll just do it myself, and forgot I'm this hard driver that always has to be chasing the brass ring.
Sure.
Got you.
When you looked at the landscape of real estate, you to make that transition, was there somebody, was there a company, were there some people that you looked to that make you thought, I can either do that or do it on a grander scale?
So locally, probably not really. Again, I was like watching these $1 Million Listing, bravo, Nat. I'm like, oh, shit, I can probably do that. Now, when I joined Berkshire, Kevin Wagaman at the time was the broker in that Ponte Vedra office. He was a great mentor and leader early on to help me kind of see things. But one of the things I did before I was still studying for my real estate license. I went to a Tom Ferry event in, I think, November of 2018 in Orlando, signed up for coaching that day.
Got it.
And I said, all right, I don't have mentors, so I will buy a mentor. I will buy time. I will trade money for time every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So that, I think, is where I modeled, and that helped me grow very quickly. Just having somebody who doesn't have a horse in the race, right? Brokers that are recruiting you, right? They're going to tell you what you want to hear. And, coming from the background with the sphere I had, it wasn't hard to get brokers to say, yeah, we'd love you to join the brokerage and what have you. But having a disinterested third party, a coach, really say, listen, here's what we got to filter. Here's what we got to look for in that first brokerage, right? Knowing that's probably not the forever. And then when I joined EXP, a lot of the reason I joined is the organization that I'm aligned with, the Fast Forward movement, with Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer and Mark Hiller and Candace Decker, who have poured so much into me. To have mentors like that has been huge. But coaching early on, and now coaching plus the people in my organization. And you guys know that as well as anyone, how much we collaborate and how everybody is just in this spirit of, listen, we're all going to win together. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
I know we already kind of went past, your initial start in the industry, but can you go back and tell us that first year? Can you walk us through how that first year was for you in real estate?
Yeah, so it was up and down, both emotionally and then just in terms of business. So, and I tell all the agents that I bring onto my team, I said, listen, it took me almost 4 months to get something under contract. And this was a really good sphere, and like spending money on Zillow leads, like it was not this overnight thing. But I can tell you this, the calls I was making, the things I was doing, the marketing I was building, all of that, once the first 2 or 3 hit, okay, now we got a snowball going down the hill.
Gotcha.
So pushed it up for a while. And when it finally got to the top, I think where a lot of agents fail out is they try and push this thing. They don't realize how close to the top they are, or they think they need to push it all by themselves, not get people around them to help. And then it crushes them on the way back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So a lot of I was calling expireds. I was doing open houses for listing agents in our office. I was calling, internet leads that registered on the website. Obviously, Zillow was a source of some of that. I was fortunate to be able to have the check equity to spend and, 32250 and get connected with some ready to go buyers at the beaches.
So let me ask you this then. So from your story, you're a major risk taker. I mean, straight out of college, you started your own business. You grew a massive company, 20 plus years, and then took another big risk. For you, who have been in the business for about like 5 or 6 years now, what would you say to those agents who are not those risk takers and willing to bet on themselves like you did to get to where you are now, or get to that successful platform that they want to be at?
God, you got to trade comfort for greatness. Like, it's just a fact. You've got to. There's a great book, and it was a hard discussion to have with an agent that we let go from the team recently, where I said, listen, this is a great book, and I need you to read it and tell me if you agree with it. Let's go. If you don't, I don't think this is for you. And it's called Burn the Boats, and it's really just talking about this plan B. And I can remember when we were negotiating the non-compete, selling my company, my wife's like, 5 years, that's a long time. Why don't you scale that back to 2 or 3? I said, nah, they can put them in a pine box. I'm not going back to that. It's just not going to happen. So that, I think, more than anything, and it's the lesson that I hope my kids see in me is, okay, Dad went through something really bad, right? It was not pretty to see me. I've got a second belly button from a feeding tube. Like, it was not awesome.
Yeah.
But that they saw me come out of that at age 48, 49, say, okay, I'm just going to start a new career. Because I want them to know, listen, if you're in a career or something that's not serving you or not bringing you joy, or you're not serving your highest potential that God has given you, you can pivot out of it and go somewhere else and do something that you love. You know, my daughter right now is in this, you know, sort of crisis of confidence. She's in nursing school, but guess what she sent me a picture of today? Dad, I'm grinding through my real estate exam. Because she's, you know, she helped do some transaction coordination. She's realizing, look, I can, now that I'm in school, in Jacksonville, yeah, I'm like, honey, absolutely. There's opportunities. Go show properties, hold open houses, help the operation side. So I hope it answered the question.
Yeah.
I've always bet on myself. I think it's always the best bets that we make, and the best money I ever spend is investing on myself. And that's why you'll see me at conferences and masterminds and things along those lines, because I can find people that have been on the road I'm trying to travel.
Gotcha. So real quick, Chris, let me ask you. I think we're going to ask the same question. Where did that come from? Like,
so you didn't want me to ask the question. You wanted to take the question.
Usually, like,
Maurice, let Chris talk, man.
where did that come from? Because I mean, anybody we've talked to on this podcast has said something traumatic happened in their life to where they had to burn that boat. They had no other choice. There was no plan B. But for you, you've been that way since you're a boy. So where did that come from?
That's a heck of a good question. I don't really have an answer, except I don't know. And part of it was just that empty feeling I had working for the insurance company, where I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of a glorified data entry clerk, what I'm doing here. And I would look up and down the cubicles and I'd say, all right, if something comes through here and wipes out this whole department I'm a part of, I think all that really happens is probably their profit is better. Yeah. Because I felt I was adding zero value. So that was the biggest part of it, I think. And just wanting to, I enjoyed when I was doing my side hustles. I just enjoyed that a lot more. And having a mentor, I think, was wildly important, right? He kind of showed me, listen, Mike, the barriers to entry to staffing are not that high, right? You don't need a factory. You needed a computer, what was called a factoring company, to front you the money on your invoices until you got paid, a computer, and at that time, money to run ads in newspapers, you know, before you start doing internet advertising. And real estate's very similar, you know, and that's, you know, fortunately and unfortunately, that's why there's such a high failure rate. But oftentimes when the barrier to entry isn't all that high, the upside potential is really high. Right. And that's what I've been fortunate to find, is that if you put in the work, the rewards are really there.
Sure. Gotcha. Well, you know, Mike, we glamorize this industry. We have shows like $1 Million Listing and, you know, List This House and all these type of great shows, and we glamorize our industry. Was there a time in your life during the real estate industry that you thought, man, this may not be my move? Is there anything that you can think of?
God, no? That happens every week. I mean, you know, like we're working, and I'm happy to be serving this customer where I was referred somebody, uncle passed away, he has no kids, a nephew is handling the estate. So, you know, this is a house, and hell, I offered him cash for it. I'm like, ooh, this is the kind of project I like. He's like, no. The siblings were going to list this, and they'll probably get more than I would offer because it's in a desirable part of town. But I mean, it's a house that the carpet's been ripped out of. It hasn't had any updates in a period of time. Like Sarah on my team, thank God it wasn't me. She opened a fridge, a listing at the beach, and just full of like maggots, flies, and all that. I mean, it is not always glamorous, you know. And even, I mean, I've had to sweep out houses at walkthroughs, right? Like I've had the buyer's agent say, look, we're not closing, or this is not, you said everything would be gone. It's not all gone. And I'm like loading it into my car and taking it to the dumpster by my office 2-3 times. Like we got to do what we got to do to get a deal done. But my clients see it. My agents see that there's nothing I ask them to do that I won't do myself. Never.
Wow.
Gotcha.
And if they want to ever test me on that, like I go all in. Like then I make it a point to show them, listen, you're going to bellyache about this? No, like, let's go. But yeah, I think there is this perception, especially when the market, 21, when it's just going crazy, everybody's going to get their license and make all this money and they're watching Selling Sunset. Like it ain't that. It's just not, even, that $12 million listing, under contract 3 times. It fell out of contract once because a guy's F-150 wouldn't swing into the driveway, into the garage. Literally, that's why it died. It was a Ford F-150. I'm like, could you get a smaller truck?
Do you get a smaller truck? Or?
F-150 guys, they're a different breed. Like they like them more than they
whoa,
like.
Whoa! Now watch yourself. Now watch yourself.
You probably drive an F-150, Maurice. Exactly. And I told the guy, I said, listen, the next F-150 I see in a garage will be the first, but it didn't matter. I guess.
Mike, here, let's transition a little bit to the real estate industry a little bit. With the online platforms, there's so many online platforms that's coming out right now. What do you think is doing to the traditional agency thing? You think it's hurting them? You think it's what do you think about that?
What platforms do you speak of?
Like the online stuff, like the cloud based, like EXP is coming out cloud based, and you get other companies. Yeah, what do you think it's going to do to the traditional?
It's kind of trite, and EXP traded on this for a while. It's that Blockbuster versus Netflix type of thing. I think there's 2 schools of thought on that, right? Sure. The big boxes, they're going to trade on their brand and the camaraderie in the office. And then you're going to have the 100% commission shops where it's just a race to the bottom. I think every agent needs to look at the value prop of what they're looking at. So when I started, I chose Berkshire Hathaway for a reason, right? I realize now, not that I wish I wouldn't have, it's just I wish I would have known about EXP a whole lot sooner. Because I had this thought in my head, and it was partly true, that everybody in this town that knows me as Mike, the staffing guy, right? And even a year into my real estate career, I was still getting messages through LinkedIn or friends like, hey, do you know anybody for this role? Or you know anybody for that role? Or, hey, I'm having a sticky issue here. I'm like, okay, roger that, I'll help you. But I thought I needed this big brand behind me to trade on their stats, their market share, their whatever that is, right? Sure. But and again, this is no knock on them. It's just as I looked at the value proposition, the company dollar versus the value I was receiving, it just got out of balance for me, especially when it came time to build a team, because the royalties and the splits were just going to be punitive to me and the team. So I think the cloud-based companies that build a culture of collaboration like EXP does, I think it's the future. I really, really do. Because I just, I'm in the agent equity program plus the awards for Icon and other things. I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't need the 529 for my son, because in 3 years I've got college covered for him.
Wow.
Like that's not happening anywhere else.
Wow.
So again, is EXP for everybody? Of course not. Is every brokerage for everybody? No, that's why there's so many. But what I have found, and I tell everyone this, is I join for the splits in the stock. What keeps me there is guys like you.
Wow.
And everybody that has poured into me and has helped me. And obviously, do I have referral partners within EXP? Heck yeah, it's awesome. I have them within Tom Ferry's network as well. So I think being part of a national company is huge if agent referrals are going to be a lead pillar for you.
Gotcha. So let me ask you some Mike. So you're on record as selling the highest price property in Ponte Vedra Beach.
I did until Ed Milet bought that one down the street.
I was about
for
to say,
$16 million. At the time in 2022, yes, it was the highest price sale on our MLS.
At 2022. So I want you to talk about this because I hear a lot of agents that want to get into luxury. So tell us, what is the major difference between your real estate average price point buyer, 300, 400, up to 5, compared to $1 million, like you said, you watch the show, like what are the differences in those types of customers?
What's that conversation like?
Yeah.
So the conversation, what I find is at that price point, they're just a whole lot more decisive. They know what they want. When they see it, they go. And when they know it doesn't work for them, they get out, like the guy we mentioned with the truck.
150. Gotcha.
So it's, is it easier? I don't know that it's necessarily easier, but would I rather have to keep one $12 million contract together or 40 $300,000 contracts together? Because that's the same amount of money if I'm doing the math in my head, right? Yeah, I can put full focus and effort into that one. That's not to say, we right now on our pending board, I think we have a $125,000 listing under contract, and I think our highest under contract right now is a listing we've got at the beach for $1.2 million. So we work at every price point, and the needs and wants of buyers across the price spectrums aren't all that different. I think what I've noticed when we get into those higher price points is they're more decisive. Sometimes they're harder to get a hold of because sometimes they're just very busy entrepreneurs, business owners, physicians, you name it. But if you can build the rapport, and how do you get them listing like that? Coach youth lacrosse. That's how
you gotta be in that arena. Yeah.
Coached the senior son in lacrosse years ago, and he fortunately knows some of the people that I know very well from a CEO group and his YPO organization. So when the time came, and one of the things I tell my agents too is I notice he watches me on social. I think I believe building that trust, building that brand, where when the time came, and that discussion really started was about, hey, I don't know if we're going to sell, but what do you think my house is worth? Like, what's going on in this market, right? And then just once that decision was made, the decision was made.
Gotcha.
Mike, you spoke on the brand. You just mentioned that, and how he was watching the brand and you doing that. Personal branding is essential for real estate agents. Could you share with us how you were able to build such a brand, and how has that contributed to the success of your real estate career?
Yeah, another great question. And Maurice knows this better than everybody. I have 2 personas on Instagram because my first one got hacked and stolen. So stop with that Mike Rolewicz _ It's evil. They're evil people that stole that. So I had to rebuild as the 904 Home Guide. But I think it's just consistency. And where I view myself is I'm an educator first. That's where my sweet spot is. I'm a big student of the market. I love sharing insights. I look back today and I had posted a story a year ago where we had just crossed 6,000 homes in our MLS. Like, that was a data point a lot of people weren't tracking back then, right? And Maurice, we were like 3,000 a couple months before that. Our inventory had doubled. Now we're sitting at like 6,100. So ask my kids, they're like, Dad, you're on Instagram and too much. I'm like, yeah, but that's okay because it serves me, right? So I've gotten direct business that way. Am I an expert? Absolutely not. Am I leveraging that platform to its full extent? Not even close. But I think people are always researching. Like, I had a call from someone in Charlotte this weekend. Hey, Mike, Googled you or found you online, and I don't know what they're finding, but they'll find an agent intro video. They'll see videos that we've done for properties we list. They'll see market updates. They'll see community spotlights. So I'm just trying to build a brand around, if you're coming to the 904, like, we've got you covered, and trying to just layer all of that in. It's fun for me to learn about local businesses and who's our local gifting partner for the month, to go give them a try and talk to the owner and thank them.
Gotcha. Did you have another question, Chris?
I did. When you talked about the social media platform, were you doing social media before real estate, or when you?
I was on Facebook like everyone else, right? How's the high school girlfriend look? All right, God, you did answer my prayers by not having that work out, right? All that stuff. Let's face it, it's true, and that's why I tell my agents, I'm like, listen, when you're looking at internet leads and where they are in the funnel, like Facebook, they're like looking for to reconnect with people from their childhood, watching cat videos. You're at about a house, like, they're not intentional, but somebody that comes in as a Google pay-per-click lead, that we know their keywords as their search term, or oceanfront homes, Ponte Vedra, or 32224 condos. Like, we know, but no, I was not. In staffing, there wasn't a real, at the time at least, right? Sold it in 2018. I don't know if other staffing brands were doing that. We certainly weren't. LinkedIn was a good platform for us back then. That's one I'm probably under indexing on, that I should over index on, is LinkedIn and Maurice, because I see your stuff come up all the time on LinkedIn. I'm like, I've got the content. I need to just drop it in there, because that's one where it rewards consistency.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, didn't leverage it in the prior company. So that's been a learning experience for me. And again, coaching my EXP family, you learn things very quickly, and just, it's how fast do you implement and how consistent are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, man, I just want to key on that for a second, man. Consistency. I just took a listing appointment yesterday. Lady just followed me on LinkedIn. I never met her, didn't know who she was. Hey, I'm looking to sell my house, and my mom's looking to move too with us, so you got to sell both houses. So that's how that kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Come list me calls are the greatest. I got one, literally. I've got a condo listed at the beach.
Yeah. I
think I got the call. Within 3 days of him calling me, we were on the market, and it was just, hey, Mike, I work with Donnie. I want to list my condo with you. I'm like, Roger that. Okay, let's go. And again, the more proof of success and everything else that you show, and just day in the life, right? If it's just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold, look at me, people just tune that out.
Yeah.
But I'm just more of a believer in storytelling. And I think you do a great job with that, Maurice, of, hey, here's how they came to me. Here's the problem. Here's how we solved it. Or like the flip that you did recently. Like, I love watching those journeys. Hey, here's the demo. And like Lindsay Houston Osteen and Jordan Faria, they bought duplexes right next to one another in Atlantic Beach.
Wow.
And she's putting her renovation stories, and I'm DMing her like, okay, I need whoever did the cabinets, the floors, because like this happened really fast.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, there's a reason HGTV does as well as it does, right? There's an audience for that. So I think that, and that's why I tell my agents, I'm like, it's so easy you don't need to come up with content ideas. Like, literally just go show a house, take some video, ask some questions. People love guessing prices on homes. Love it. Big fan of that. It trips me out when agents on my own team don't guess it right, though, because I'm like, you guys have access to the MLS. Like, should. But maybe they're just trying to skew the results. I don't know.
Right.
So, Mike, let me ask you something, man. So you're a go-getter, you're a risk taker, you're a burn the boat guy. But what are you telling agents? What advice are you giving other agents who are not quite in that same mode, but they want to still be successful? They have these great expectations, big dreams of what's to come in the real estate, but they just have not met their full potential yet. What are you telling those folks?
First, I'm telling them to burn the boats if they haven't. but
Okay.
I know several within EXP, within coaching, that they've got other things going on. And I think it all just comes down to discipline. John Cheplack says it best. He's like, you do not have a time management problem. You have a choice management problem.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of realizing this is not an overnight success game.
Right.
And just disciplining yourself to that schedule and treating it like a 9 to 5. I think that's the hardest thing, is so many realtors. And as you talk to agents that want to join your team or just over coffee, they want to get in because of the flexibility. Like you can't, it's not going to happen.
No.
Right. Like I'm to the point, I've got a full-time operations director. I've got agents on my team. Guess what? There's still times I need to go jump and run to show a property. Right.
Yeah.
I'm leveraged. So imagine if you're not, what that looks like. So I tell people, like, show me your schedule and I'll show you your future. Because if I look at your calendar and you say you have no clients, okay, well, let's look at the last 30 days. What were you doing?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And if there's not time blocks in there for prospecting, lead generation, lead follow-up, I'm sorry, a viral TikTok's not going to get you there. As much as I believe in social media, that's a component. It's a spoke in the wheel.
Yep.
That's good. Well, you talked about scheduling. You also talked about a day in the life. What is the day in the life of Mike?
God, it's wildly inconsistent. That's what's terrible. Like that's my Achilles heel, you know? So, but my schedule is, I'm an early riser, and part of that I have cancer to thank because they zapped your salivary glands. So I just wake up with a really dry mouth around 5 o'clock and I just never fall back asleep. So early morning at the gym, catching the sunrise, in the office anywhere between 8 and 9 most days, meeting with the operations side for a little bit, making sure we know what's going on for any closings, any pendings, any deals that are on fire, right? Figuring those things out. And then figuring out, do my agents need anything? But a lot of my time is just spent lead generating, just calling people.
Yeah.
And most of that now is my sphere. So Zillow, I don't take Zillow calls. That feeds my team. Internet leads, I'm not in the round robin. So my lead flow for personal deals is coming from my sphere, my past clients exclusively.
Gotcha.
And a lot of that I still give to the team, especially on the buy side. So probably, I would say, an hour or two phone prospecting. I'm also looking at the hot sheets during that time, seeing what new inventory might make sense. Sometimes I'm shooting that out to agents that I know have, a buyer in that price point, or that it may resonate, or even if they're under contract, like, hey, like we have one today, very short inspection period, cash deal, just too many issues with the house. We're too far apart on a repair credit. So, all right, now we got to go back to the drawing board for them.
Gotcha.
Lunch, and then the afternoon is open for appointments, but that's also when I'm working with, so one of the agents, Sarah Gentry on our team, also handles our marketing. So 1 or 2 afternoons, her and I are just collaborating on weekly email topics. If I've done a video that week, she's editing that to get that out to folks. Like this week, our local gifts drop. So getting that email together and out. And then appointments in the afternoon. That could be showings. That could be meeting agents around town to find off-market opportunities or just talk about their business. And then like this afternoon, I had a client, their lease is up in December, just sold their house in Atlanta, met them at an open house. So she's like, hey, let's go see his house in Pablo Bay. Called me at 3. I said, can you be there at 4:30 or 5:15? Because I got to be on with Maurice and Chris at 6. She said, sure. So I like to leave the afternoons open.
Got you. So now, Mike, you said something that I want to kind of touch on. You said that's your Achilles heel, your time management. but it seems as though you're still disciplined to make sure that you still do those important things: lead generation, showing properties, marketing. So how were you able to do that and not get derailed or distracted by a fox or a shiny object or a email that leads you down this rabbit hole? How do you stay so disciplined to where you said yourself, you don't have structure of a schedule. You have one, but you really don't. How do you stay so focused then?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, right? Okay. Like, and you probably get the same calls. Hey, Mike, I'm an investor looking to buy this, and I'll send you my buy box. I just tell them I'm probably not the guy for you right now, because I know, because I saw in someone else's story that they're like so excited that somebody wants to see all these properties. I'm like, exact list the guy sent me. So, it's those shiny objects. And, who gets marketed to more than real estate agents?
Oh my goodness.
Like in staffing, you had a company that wanted to sell you applicant tracking. Another one wanted to sell you, Indeed or Career Builder, something to find candidates. But oh my gosh, every day.
Every day
I've got this referral, or I got this, or hey, I'm this lender, and so I've gotten a lot better at clearing that clutter, and we're using, it's called CTE. It's like Sisu, just little cheaper version, I guess. So now that I'm starting to track our Zillow spend, our internet spend, pay-per-click and all that. So part of my time is really spent on the business, not in the business. Is okay, what do we need to tweak? What do we need more of? What do we need less of? And trying to figure that out. One of the things that's an initiative for me once the weather cools down is I'm going to dedicate 2 days a month with a videographer just shooting community content to have evergreen on YouTube, Instagram, and all this, so that when people go searching for a neighborhood, I put a couple shekels behind that on YouTube. When they say, I want to, Seven Pines in Jacksonville or Pablo Creek Reserve, there I'll be as the resident expert, because they didn't see a little thing that says ad on YouTube. So that's one of the things where that's a time block I'm going to be building in.
Gotcha.
Mike, if you could go back, man, powerful story. Discipline, who you are. It doesn't, I know it didn't happen by chance. By accident. It was diligent, focused. If you had the opportunity to go back in time to tell the then Mike, when you first started your career, based upon the information that you know now, what would you tell that then Mike? Hey, you need to work on this. Hey, you need to put this in place. Hey, this is coming ahead of you. You need to get good at this. What would that be?
So probably I would have sold my staffing company a lot sooner. And that's why I call cancer the greatest gift I ever got, because that shook me from that comfort zone. It was just like Groundhog Day-ish sort of existence, not really passionate for it. And, we had a diversified enough client base, but I think I fast forward to what did staffing look like during COVID? What's going to go first? Temps, we're not even in the office. So, my one buddy, my mentor, he had sold a staffing company and then started a new one once he outlived his non-compete. He was just fortunate that his client base, he's up in the Baltimore area, they were all deemed essential businesses. So he was working distribution centers and all that. So his business thrived, but there's others where it did not go well for them. But, I think my biggest Achilles heel is still, and I tell anybody that comes to work with us, management is just not my thing. Management, leadership, that's where I've got to get better. Because problem is I enjoy being an operator and being in production, and switching those hats off from time to time can be a challenge for me.
Got it.
So how do you, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, how do you manage that? How do you?
Yeah, especially with a successful team that you have, and you're not a leadership or management guy, but you're the team leader of the 904 home team. How do you, how does that happen?
How you put it together? Because you built a nice size team.
Exactly.
How are you able to do this?
I'm still figuring it out. I mean, it is. It's a daily sort of thing because, you know, a year ago was talking with my coach about getting out of production. And then I realized that's not what I want. Like earlier this year, I had 8 agents on the team in May or June. I have 3 now. And we've got more pending than we've had all year because I realized I was spreading myself too thin and I wasn't doing the things I enjoyed either. Like I wasn't ready to step out of production, and, you know, and it can happen. You can fall victim to it within Tom Ferry coaching, within our group, within EXP, right? And I got to grow it this big, or I need this many people, or I need, and then I realized like, no, I'm running this more as a lifestyle business at this point. So it needs to serve me and I need to be able to serve others. And I was just, you know, April, May, June was just pouring from an empty cup because I was just constantly trying to get people productive that I could not get productive. And it's just endlessly frustrating. So we tightened the circle and said, okay, maybe we're changing that agent avatar a little bit to say, right, this is your main thing. Or if it's not, you know what you can dedicate to it. And we didn't have a, you know, take all comers approach by any stretch. You know, I feel like we did a decent job of, you know, interviewing, onboarding, but I realized with some of the agents, and again, it's no fault of their own, you know, they just didn't understand or weren't willing to give what it would take to get where they wanted to go. And I realized, listen, all I can do is provide an environment where if you choose to plug in, you'll be successful. But if you choose not to, right, I can't push you. You got to pull. And that's that leadership struggle constantly, I think.
Gotcha. So for you, how important is it for you to really admit your vulnerabilities? You know what I'm saying? Because in a leadership position, most leaders don't want to say where their blind spots are. They don't want to say they got everything under control. Everything is, I got this. They don't do what Mike does and says, hey, you know, I have maybe an issue with time management. You know, I really don't like being in a leadership position. So how are you able to do that and, you know what I'm saying, be able to express your vulnerabilities and still maintain that successfulness?
I just think because I'm honest, I think people appreciate that. So that when they do see me maybe not giving them what they need right away, I've told them up front, like, listen, you're going to need to come to me. I'm not a mind reader. And, you know, I ask my team members when they come on board is, excuse me, what do you give me permission to hold you accountable for? And the discussion is easier when they've given that permission. Or I can say, listen, Chris, is there something going on that I'm not aware of? Because like this, you said you were going to do this, or this was the goal, or these were the activities you committed to. And, you know, now we're in week 2 where you're not quite hitting the mark. Like, what's going on? And that's what I realized with some of those that, you know, we let go from the team was I was having the same discussion and I was too patient, too lenient. You can't have excuses and big success. Like they're mutually exclusive.
Gotcha. So go ahead.
What's the next step, man? What's the next step for Mike? What's the next step for Mike?
The next step is grow the team where my production becomes a smaller and smaller percentage, but it doesn't go to zero. And
what does that look like? I mean, can you expound on that? What does that look like when you say grow the team?
So right now we'll probably do anywhere from 80 to 100 transactions this year with myself and the team of 3 we currently have. Probably add 1 or 2 to the team towards the end of this year.
Okay.
You know, do I ever want 50 agents? No, like that would be my worst nightmare. You know, like now granted, like Kyle Whistle, he's a great friend and mentor, right? He's got 100 people on his team. Like bless his ministry. It's just not for me. But can I pull little things from what he does to put better systems and processes in place? Heck yeah.
Right.
One of the things we're really focused on that I mentioned earlier, more video content across the board, neighborhood tours, community spotlights, those types of things where we just show up, because you want to be that guy where like, I see you everywhere. And then in terms of growing the team, probably maybe a VA to help Adnana, because she is amazing as she is. Like, I just know that's just a lot that we have on her to shoulder. Transaction coordination, operations direction, leveling up this system, and that squirrel and fox you talked about, Maurice, that's what I do. I just send her a text, like, put this on our to-do board, and we go through that. And she helps me distill all that down.
Yeah.
And some of it is, all right, what can we take off your plate, whether it's a VA or whether it's my daughter, right? We had an intern this summer for a short time, and it was great because he was able to call and invite people to our VIP events. We did a little campaign for buyers of our listings to say, hey, you bought one of our listings. That was really smart. Click this QR code, see what your home's worth. So now I can grab their contact information, because we all know everybody says right after a transaction they're going to work with a realtor again, and like 12% actually do. So it's trying to figure out the initiatives that help get more people in our database that can then consume our content. When the time comes for them to transact, they say, well, let's at least give him a try.
Yeah. Got you.
I like it. Good stuff.
Man, I had nothing else, man. I mean, that was.
Well, well, listen, I got some more questions.
Go ahead. Give me
why EXP?
So EXP,
Maurice asked the question earlier, why real estate? Now I want to know why EXP.
So again, I said this earlier, EXP at first, so I'm a finance major. I'm very much numbers, spreadsheet driven. And when I was looking at options, like, I knew that Berkshire model was just not going to work with the royalty fee and uncapped. It just wasn't going to work. So like Corey Hastings, England Volkers, much love to him. He was pursuing me like crazy. Problem is, his model was exactly the same. 6% royalty, right? The splits are this. Like, okay, that's not going to work, especially if I want to build a team. And then through Tom Ferry coaching, got to know Candace Decker, Kyle Whistle, and just looked at the model. How could I build it? Who's there to help me? And it was such a no-brainer. And that's again where I'm like, gosh, I should have done it earlier. And, there's some agents in our market that I'm talking to now that are just worried about, oh, but I have these pending deals and they'll get paid at a lower split. I'm like, there's no right time. Never, ever. Right. When I left Berkshire, I had $2.5 million pending. That went from this split to that. Okay, it is what it is, because I know that the first transaction I do with EXP is getting me closer to that cap.
That's good.
So that the model financially was what brought me over, but what has me a raving fan that will never leave are the people that I'm aligned with that pour into me. So yesterday we do an hour-long production mastermind every Monday. Check, I was on that. Then they bring in somebody to do a master class where they do a deep dive on a topic. So yesterday they had Phil Stringer, AI, gives away, hey, here's the 10 best tools. Here's a little bit how to use them. Great, I do that. Today we have what's called a lieutenant's mastermind for people doing 25 to 50 million in production. Different group of people to learn from. Like, I didn't know who to model at Berkshire that had built a team.
Was anybody doing that type of volume over there?
Not as teams, no.
Got it. Right.
Like, I always want to feel like one of the dumbest in the room. And when I'm in these masterminds, I'm like, okay, I'm in the right room.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
I'm learning from people all the time.
Got you. So I do have a question now that we still talking about it.
Okay.
So why do you think, and like you said, you've talked to other agents in the business, never the right time. But let's talk about those who feel like their egos may hold them back from a great opportunity. What are you, Mike, telling those folks?
Egos in terms of I feel like I need to be attached to this.
I need to be attached to this brand. I need to be attached to something that's.
Well, the one that we talked about the other day, Maurice, was when they say that model doesn't fit my needs.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Yeah, my strong belief is again, I'm a high driver, but I'm also analytical.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have emotions. I just go based on logic and quick decisions. I couldn't unsee it. Like I'm just like, wait a minute. So, okay, these are the splits. Okay, if I have team members, this is that. I get stock awards for this. I can buy stock for that. Okay, if I help someone grow their business, I get that. Like it makes too much sense. And I think the biggest thing is, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that wants to own their business, you're renting your business at a franchise brokerage. You just are. And I'm not a renter. Like right now, my daughter, she's transferring back to UNF. We had bought her a townhouse in Virginia. We sold it. I'm like, girl, we got to get you a townhouse. We got to get you a condo. She's like, I'll just rent. I'm like, no, you can't rent. So, I think some of the problem is agents, they don't view themselves as business owners. They're viewing themselves as employees. And if that's you, like, hey, that's fine. But I think, to Maurice's point, I think some of that is their ego.
That's good.
Or that, there's camaraderie in the office. Or I'm like, okay, well, do you have people that can help you go from here to here that are willing to open their playbooks, and when you call them, they answer? No, most of them don't.
Yeah.
And that's the big leverage point for me. But it's owning my business. Like EXP, I'm mirrored. That has to be here, but they want you to operate as you. Like a lot of people, when I got out of my staffing company, like, are you going to open a brokerage? I'm like, that's the last thing I would ever do.
Wow. Okay. That's
the stuff I was running from when I sold my company, the compliance issues, right? It was staffing. So it was HR. It was Affordable Care Act. It was work comp, like all this stuff. I'm like, I don't worry about any of that. We got, I don't know, there's 6 or 7 brokers at the state level now. Like my branch office, we have to be compliant to certain things, right? The fair housing and the broker's name on the door and all that. But I mean, I run this almost like a brokerage. Without all the headaches.
Yes,
good.
So even indie broker owners, I don't know why you'd want a little indie brokerage either. Like, why not grow to something bigger? Like, who's your referral network?
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Mike? You're asking a lot of questions I've asked other people, but I just let people. I mean, their egos are what they are, and just let them do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's no right or wrong answers. I know for me, and if somebody wants an opportunity to build wealth and have income streams outside of just transactions, I don't know another model or platform where that happens. Plus, where you have all the support, and this, Maurice and Chris, we have issues. I'm like, Adnana, go in the broker room. Within 3 minutes, she's like, okay, Mike, our ticket's pulled. What do we need to talk about?
Yeah.
Like that.
You can't.
Like sometimes you get your broker to call you back because they're out on a boat or something. Like that doesn't work. Because usually if I'm going to the broker, like, okay, shit's hitting the fan here. Like we need to figure this out and quick.
Yeah. Or the brokerage is a competing brokerage where they're out there trying to get their own business as well, and they don't have time to sit down with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was one of the draws of Berkshire Hathaway at the time, was a non-competing brokerage. And listen, I tell my agents straight up, listen, you're not getting I'm not out of production. So understand that. However, you are going to have opportunities to sit open houses on my listings. I'm going to give as much business away as I can, but I'm not there. So that may or may not work for you. And that's fine. Yeah, nothing's one size fits all.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, man, great show, man.
Absolutely.
I
Appreciate it. This was fun. You guys, this hour flew by. I dig it. I like it.
See, we got to do a part 2. I say that to Maurice feels like everybody we talk to, we got to do a part 2.
Hey man, because we have some heavy hitters and rock stars come on this show. We don't have no.
We ain't got no foo-foo.
No foo-foo. Yeah, Chris, where are you? Are you in Jacksonville too?
I'm here in Jacksonville as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's with EXP.
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
Roger that. How long you been with EXP?
Well, Maurice, how long? 90 days?
Yeah, he just came on board 90 days. Been in the business for a long time, though.
Long time, but came back in about 90 days ago.
Yeah, so pretty soon, Chris, you'll be telling people, I regret not joining sooner.
Yes.
Right, just give it a little bit of time and you'll be saying the same thing.
Yes. That's good. Well, Mike, you got the last words, man. What advice would you like to give anybody who's listening, seasoned agent, new agent? You got the last words. Share your heart.
Final thoughts. Absolutely.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts are, either, golly, what is the quote? There's a quote about discipline that I really, really like. Is either discipline yourself or the market will discipline you. Something along those lines is, we're about to enter a season very much like we saw the third and fourth quarter of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you better buckle up and know what you're doing, because interest rates are closer to 8 than they are 7 right now.
Yeah.
So if you're not educating, if you're not knowing, right, how to get people to move powerfully, because the problem is we're still, even with those 6,000 active listings, we're still inventory starved here, and we're still a big inflow market.
Yep.
So people that took the summer off or are coasting right now, winter is coming, and it is not going to be good for you if you are not. So if anything right now, double down on lead generation, on your sphere, on people who might have life events that are going to put them in this market, because it's going to be much more needs-based, and you will either discipline yourself to grow your business or the market will discipline you. And I think we're still going to see an exodus of agents into 2024. So ended on a real positive note, right?
That sounded like an episode of Game of Thrones. Winter.
Yeah, but listen, for those that will do the work, you'll gain market share. Right. We're going to sell more homes this year than we did last year.
Good.
There's not a lot of people where that's the case. A lot of people, you talk to them, their business is down. And some of it is just because they kind of ran and put their head in the sand towards the end of last year. And that's why I started the mastermind that I did in October, because I was just seeing a lot of people paralyzed. I'm like, listen, let's all get together and collectively figure out, how do we solve this problem?
Mm-hmm.
How do we help one another serve at a high level, get people where they need to be, because people still need homes. Like, it's a fact. And it's just figuring out how do we get them there by educating them, being empathetic, and not trying to, and this is a tough one for me. Listen, my logic is never going to overcome your emotion. Never, ever. So empathetic agents that are disciplined will win.
Yeah.
Empathetic
true, man. Well, thank you so much, Mike.
Good stuff, man.
Absolutely, guys.
Great show.
Good seeing you both.
Anything
and our Fast Forward Mastermind locally will be back probably September, Maurice. So I'll get you the info on that, because we took the summer off a little bit because everybody's travel schedule was wacky. But I think going into this season, I think we all need to get back together in a room, brokerage agnostic, and start figuring out, how do we solve the problems our clients have.
That's good.
Hey man, send it to me. I'll definitely be there, and Chris will be there too. So send it to us.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Fastest hour I had today.
That's good stuff. Man. Thanks, Mike.
All right. See you guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, don't talk about it. Man, what we got? Let's real quick. We got 2 events.
We got 2
My events. Bad. Forget about Thursday's event.
So Thursday event, we got loan products with Lisa Brent, I forget, I can't pronounce her last name. I can't pronounce nobody's last name nowadays.
That's
Lisa
right.
Brennigan. So she will be doing some loan products to attract investors and give you some more opportunities. And then we got the realtor mix on Friday, man.
We got a realtor mixer with I Need the Cherry over at KB Homes.
Yep.
Out here in our Orange Park community.
Yep.
So come out there. That's gonna be from 6 to 9 on Friday. All right.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir, man. Go ahead and close us out, brother.
That's good. Great show, everybody. Till next time, don't talk about it. Be about it. We out. Peace.